This is a Big Facts Network exclusive.
You know what it is? Time for a Big Facts Extra Big Bank, baby. DJ Scream. We are here with Senator Dwight Bullard is here.
What's up, Big Dog?
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Nah, for sure.
Roy Markins in the cut too. What's up with you? Salute. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So we wanted to have a roundtable chat and definitely talk about. We are a little bit over a week away from the presidential election and we know there's a lot at stake. And I guess it's just talking about not necessarily choosing the side of who to vote for and all that. That's not the purpose of this,
right.
But letting everybody know the importance of exercising their right to vote. So y'all can just kind of elaborate and, get the vibes going so we can have that discussion.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm glad you framed it in that way, right? Because a lot of people will really kind of get caught up in these personalities. Mm-hmm. The individuals who run for these offices, people start developing opinions. They start going down these rabbit holes about who's who. And part of the function for the work that I do is just reminding people that your vote, although critical, doesn't have to be this thing that is monumental. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think too oftentimes, especially folks who look like me from the black community, get kind of caught up in this information loop around voting, and I'm not gonna run away from the fact that people literally died to get the right. We get that. Mm-hmm. But I also want people to just be habitual about the function of doing it. Mm-hmm. I was sharing with some folks the other day, there was a study done that says we spend about 3 days waiting on stuff in lines, mm-hmm. Right? Like drive-thrus, mm-hmm. At the store, etc. Mm-hmm. Yet people kind of get caught up in this, I can't go vote, right? And it's just like, give me the excuse, because you about to spend the same amount of time getting that cup of coffee.
Let me ask you something, and I'm going to cut you out to ask you this. Like, do our vote really, really matter, though? That's what I want to know.
1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. But it's also a matter of collectivism, right? What I mean by that is, what ends up happening is someone will absorb something and be like, well, my vote doesn't count. And then that accumulates. So let's say you got a place like like South Fulton or one of these newer cities around Atlanta that kind of popped up that aren't the city itself. Mm-hmm. You have these city council races being won by 100 votes, 50
like
votes.
smaller margins.
30 votes.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
sense.
that's the direct democracy. You got these school board races. When I was an active state senator, we actually had a race that came down to 14 people.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? That's a church bus. Mm-hmm. Like,
Right.
literally, had you had a
family.
church bus full of people in that district, you could have done the outcome different. I'll take it even a step further. We had a member of Congress won their seat by 5 votes. Mm. That's not even a church bus. That's a car. Mm-hmm. And just imagine how many, and this is a black part of Southern Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, where you could have easily put 5 people in a car and literally determined who was going to be the congressperson for the next 2 years.
Let me add something to that too, though. And I'm not a politician, but we support a show and try to make sure he's out, and everything we do is about the community, for the community. But I'll say this to you, because I used to ask the same question. It doesn't matter till it affects you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it affects your community, now it's like, hey, wait. Why did this happen to my child or my family? It matters when it affects you.
Right.
And so a lot of times we think, especially as black folk, my vote don't matter because I don't feel it, I don't see it, I don't touch it. But when that hits your community, now that vote really matters. Not that it doesn't matter before, but it matters. It starts mattering more to you.
100%.
So what do we do with the people? Because this is the biggest thing with a core of people that's in my phone. They're frustrated because a lot of them did vote for the first time last election and they felt like certain things didn't get accomplished. You know what I'm saying? Right. Cannabis reform, prison reform, police reform, and stuff like that. I mean, what do you say is the antidote to that? Just keep voting, or
what
antidote?
What I would say is this, and I'll use a football analogy, right? A lot of people make this assumption that the vote is you going to the pros. The vote is the fact you played football. So this is what I'm saying. The analogy is that everybody in the NFL right now played football. Pop Warner, high school, college. People make the assumption that the vote is you getting drafted. It's not. It's you picking up the ball for the first time. What you choose to do with it at that moment is the bigger impact. Are you going to throw it? Are you going to run it? Are you going to catch it? How have you developed those skills? And so this is what I mean is like a lot of people will be like, I cast my ballot, nothing changed. Well, the question is, closed mouths don't get fed. So for what you needed, did you ask for it?
What about the people that come with all those promises, the politicians that come with all those promises and then don't do it?
But again, going back to the football analogy, right? How many coaches promise kids starting time? How many coaches promise kids that you gonna go to the pro? You come to my program, you're going to go to the pros. It don't matter if you're not actually putting in the skill and the work to get it done. For people who end up actually getting drafted and then going into the Hall of Fame and all those things, they're the ones who took the time to do the thing. And this is where I want to remind folks of. No. And but follow me on this one, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Follow me on this one, right? What I'm trying to tell folks around the notion of civic engagement is someone's going to come to you and make a promise, 100%, because they're trying to get your vote, undoubtedly, right? So here's the thing. When are you going to then go back to them to demand that promise? Or is it just you going to make the expectation that because they said it once?
So what's the
He's saying hold them accountable.
What's the process?
He's saying hold them accountable.
100%.
But we got to hold them accountable collectively, though, right?
What?
Collectively or individually.
But I think too, another, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but I think too, like another misconception or a misunderstanding about that whole process is using the presidency, for example. A lot of the promises that these candidates are making about the presidency and about what they will and won't do and what they can and can't do what they will and won't do when they get into office, they don't even have the authority to make those decisions because a lot of the things that they are promising, the responsibility of that primarily lies on the Senate and not them.
Yeah, the Senate or the House. I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, Civics 101 is that if you want to move money at the federal government, state level, you got to engage your legislature. A lot of folks don't even know who their state legislator is.
Right.
Right? Like, let's start there.
Right.
Right. Regardless of who made the promise, people don't know who's actually functioning. To me, I served in the state legislature in Florida, and I would tell people, like, do you know who the Speaker of the House is?
Right.
I'm like, because this is a person who individually can move millions.
Right.
Do you know who the Senate president is?
Right.
There's a person who individually can move millions. More importantly, what happens is people get focused on where they live. So they're like, I went to my state representative because I live in Atlanta. But the speaker might be from Macon.
Right.
Speaker might be from, Waycross.
Albany or anywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
You have every right to engage those folks too. Right? You know
because
what I'm saying?
they're representing the state and not just your area.
100%. And even boil down to city council. It might be a school board. Same thing. It's a rule of numbers, right? If you're trying to move money on a body that consists of 7 people, simple math, how many people you need to move the money? 4.
4. A majority.
So if you're over here talking to one every day, you beating down their door, you in their office, you ringing their phone, congratulations. You convinced one person.
Well, but I think to your point, sometimes when the vote's not passed, it's more than just that person saying, I'm gonna pass this and get this passed. There's other people that are involved in that vote that can say, no, we're not gonna pass that vote.
But that feel like a scam to a voter, though.
I don't know if it's necessarily a scam, but because I think what happens is, I'm gonna keep it real. I think what happens with us as black folk, we think because we vote one time, that vote's supposed to be passed. We don't do
y'all ain't understand what I'm saying.
We don't do enough of our homework sometimes, and it's not an emotional thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So what I see sometimes is we vote because it's from an emotional perspective versus there's time that needs to be taken. It's intelligent. You take the time to keep going through the process of that vote to get passed. It's not just a one and done thing.
No, for sure. We know that as adults, but I'm saying that's not what the campaigns say, though.
That's
So that's what make people be weary of that shit. Like, man, all that shit. I'm just being real.
Voter morale and voter fatigue, because there's some people that I know that have voted since Obama and midterm elections, and they want to see a change with the police situation.
Right.
They haven't seen anything.
Sure.
If anything, they've seen it get worse.
Right.
So if you have voter fatigue and you don't have that voter morale, I'm gonna do it because personally, my people in Selma got hosed down and bit by dogs, so I'm always just vote some ancestor type stuff, right? But for other people who've been voting since 2008 to try to change something that the needle hasn't moved any at all. I'm just trying to get them collectively motivate them to do it.
And I totally appreciate it. Two things I want to make sure are concrete, especially for black folks.
Okay.
We've already experienced what it's like to not be able to vote.
Yeah.
Right? We know, like, we can go in the history book and be like, when was it that black folks couldn't vote?
Right.
And what were they experiencing when they couldn't vote?
Yeah.
And so this idea that withholding my vote or not voting is going to get me something, you know, like that's a mischaracterization of how voting works, right?
No, I get it. No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
and my thing is like just on a pure apples to apples kind of comparison, right? You have this thing, the vote, where you may get something for it, versus not voting, where you're definitely not going to get something.
I agree
It's
with
like
that.
playing the lottery.
I agree
Right.
with that.
But you ain't.
And the thing about
never
it,
got nothing for it. I ain't saying like I'm against voting. I'm just speaking
for
devil
the people
advocate. Like
watching.
they
Right.
say.
I get it.
At
For
the
the
end of
people
the day,
watching. It's
before we could vote, who ran the votes?
The white people.
Okay, so once they allowed us to vote, do you think they're gonna allow it to count? That's how niggas think.
That's real.
If y'all was over some shit,
Right.
and y'all gotta let us in, y'all gonna let us in so far. That's what electoral and all that shit come in, right?
so I will
So
say
you mean
that.
the Electoral College?
Yeah, so it's like really, I'm just speaking from what I hear people say.
No, I
like,
got
"Bro,
you.
that shit don't
but
matter."
what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, if you just take it on the presidential level, there are clear-cut examples of just the threat of black people voting. The most overwhelming election in the history of our modern history of our country was 1964, before the Voting Rights Act was even passed. Right. This is where Lyndon Johnson ends up, I think, getting over 300. You know, the electoral votes. You got to get to 270. He ends up getting like 320.
Can you
which
break that
means-
down a little bit too? The Electoral College, like so people can.
And the difference between the Electoral College vote and the popular vote.
Right. So, you know, we'll jump in there. I just want to cite this example is like he won overwhelming numbers of states, especially states where there were significant black populations that he had never anticipated winning before. This is states like Michigan, states like Pennsylvania, states like, you know, Illinois.
Most of the swing states.
Well, they're considered swing states now, but you got to remember, in 1964, the South couldn't vote, right? But there were these black populations in Chicago, in Philadelphia, who are now saying, this dude's passing civil rights legislation. I'm rocking with him, so I'm voting for him because he's delivering on the things that I need him to deliver on. And so that's where you get overwhelming. Prime example, again, 2008, Obama's first go-around. When people got excited, got motivated, got into the idea of hope and change, boom, you get overwhelming. He was right under Lyndon Johnson in terms of level of overwhelming support. But to your Electoral College question, it's a vestige of slavery. Let's be clear, right? What I mean by vestige of slavery is that's where it comes from. It was white slave owners concocting a way so that certain states with bigger populations would not have outsized power
The same
over,
say so.
over smaller states, right?
Yeah.
So you calculate these electoral votes to kind of do it. So now it gives Wyoming an outsized advantage over California, even though California is considerably
Larger.
bigger, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something you always have to be hyper aware of in these things. And I think a lot of people are like, well, you know, Georgia's red or Florida's red. Why should I vote in a presidential? And it is the importance of A, the popular vote, B, the potential to shift the electoral vote. Because in most states, whoever wins the popular vote gets all the electoral votes. You know, there's a couple where you get like a split, but the overwhelming number of states say if you win the popular vote, you win all the electoral votes, no problem, right? So, and there's only been 4 examples where that's been thrown off, and it's been recent, so a lot of people get
Yeah,
upset.
because Hillary Clinton lost like that.
Right.
I always ask politicians this, like just off camera, but I'm gonna ask you on camera. Do you?
Yeah.
Do,
I'm here for it.
do like politicians really come in with a good heart and go and just get turned when they get in? You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I thought I could make a change, but I can't. Damn. And they just become a part of the system.
Well, listen, it's
a puppet.
I will break it down in a couple different ways, and I'll be very, very, very blunt about it, right? Politicians are regular people. Mm-hmm. Insecurities, false in the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
I remember when I first got elected, I think I went into the cafeteria, and this lady out the blue was like, "Hey, Representative Bullard, now I ain't never met you, right? Yet you know my title and you know my name." For a lot of people, that's intoxicating, like a drug. This idea that somebody's treating me with a higher level of respect than I've ever had.
Yeah.
And so they get kind of caught up in the titles, get caught up in the prestige.
How's she look, Dwight?
You know, it's a cafeteria lady. That's all it was. She was making spaghetti. That's better, right? So there's nothing to it. But I would also be mindful of the holding people accountable, right? I think a lot of times, especially in our community, we get somebody who had the same hard luck story that we had, came up, went to the same high school, and we're just like, oh, they know me. They got it. No, you got to check in with those folks. And the other example I would give is that in the state of Florida, I'll use an example. There are 3,000 registered lobbyists in the state of Florida, just for state legislative stuff.
Really?
We only have 160 legislators. So that is almost...
Also, lobbyists have to register?
Yeah. I mean, actual lobbyists. You can advocate for free, but if you're going to lobby the state, you have to register. So think about that. That means 30 people for every one person who's getting a vote are lobbyists, right? And then, let's take it a step further. Of that, you have less than 100 black lobbyists out of 3,000.
Damn.
So explain, so this is what I wanted to know about that too, like always. Okay, so when it comes to the whole like lobbying thing, what part of lobbying is legal and what part is illegal?
Well, it varies state to state, but like I'll use Florida as an example. We have what's called a gift law ban, right? So you can't accept anything over valued over $25 as a gift in the state of Florida, which means, and they passed that because they don't want people just actively bribing, people for their vote. But the flip side is you can contribute to my campaign, right? As a lobbyist.
Shit though, right?
But again, it all depends on how you angle it, right? And so this is what I mean by the balancing out voting versus money. In activist work, which I do now, we say that power is organized people or organized money. So you got to move one of those two to activate anybody. Folks up in the state legislature, folks up in the city council see organized money all the time. Special interests, different things. Falcons want to build a new stadium. So the question is, where's the organized people? Because if organized money is motivating people because that's what is tangible, then that means that you also got to be able to mobilize 300 people to City Hall. Or use a platform like the one you have here to say, all right, these politicians ain't about shit. Let's call them out and let's hold them accountable until they get it, until they knock on my door saying, stop dogging me out on the radio. But I'll stop dogging you out when you stop dogging out the community, right? And so that's the kind of agitation that we need. But a lot of people, again, concede power to people who they presume to be worth a damn.
Let me ask you something. Why do you think it's separate, like Democrats and Republicans, and why you think it's separate? Why just can't be one?
I mean, it could be. I actually think it needs to be more than two parties. Let's be clear. Because you look at all of our other neighbors, Great Britain, Canada, Mexico, they all have multi-party systems where people can find their political identity somewhere, and then they get what's called coalition governments. So if you got 10 parties, whoever can get to the 50% then controls the government, picks the speaker, does that thing. And I think people would be more excited about politics if they knew they could do stuff like that. The problem that we have with the current two-party system is you got a lot of people who say, I'm not feeling the Democrats, a lot of people saying I'm not feeling the Republicans, and then you got all these people in the middle who are just like, well, I'm not registering for any party because I'm just not I'm not caught up. And so now we got this polarization happening across the country where people making assumptions about these parties and what power they hold or what power they wield or who they represent, which can be some BS.
So if you blue or red, like just say for instance, if you blue or red, and you're a politician, and you're a politician, and you really don't agree with your side, how does that work?
You vote no. Listen, I was a no voting fool up in the legislature. Right?
How does it work afterwards, though? Do you gain ops?
Absolutely. You got to be prepared for the ops, no doubt. But what I would say is, and you know, I won't call out names, right? But the problem is, like the party in power. Let's just say the Republicans were in power up in our state capital in Tallahassee, and of course they'd be like, all right, I need a Democratic vote so it can seem bipartisan. So they're going to come, they're going to schmooze you, they're going to be like, let's go to dinner, I promise you this, I promise you that. And so those folks end up saying, well, they said, I'm going to get $100,000 from my community, so I got to vote with them on this thing that's actually going to hurt my community. And people hear about those stories all the time where it'd be like, you just sold up, you sold us out on a vote that was this, that, or the third. My notion was, you're not going to play me. You're going to respect me. So my no vote sometimes will be more powerful than a yes vote from one of my Democratic colleagues. Because, you know, just put it, they gave up the booty too quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they went on for the gusto.
That's it. I mean, like, you let them buy you dinner first or something, like, you know.
Yeah.
Put together a playlist or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's ways to get romanced. And the thing about these folks is they'll go in there and be like, oh, you said that? Here it is. Let's go. And they'll be like, well, thank you for this. I didn't even ask for it, but you're just going to give it to Cool.
What about friends in politics? Like, do you think they it's like a conspiracy on a lot of votes? Like, bro, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Like that.
So, ask the question again.
Like, just say, Vincent, me and you friends, and both of us was like, had our votes count together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think it'd be friendly votes? Like, I call you the night before, like, which way you going?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I've been around those dinners.
You know, we'll be in meetings and be like, here's our strategy. But sometimes, and that would be the thing that would mess me up, is I used to be the Democratic lead on many of my committees, and I'd be like, we got to go down on this. We got to vote no on this. You know, I can't. You know, I got some things going on. I'm just like, it ain't going to kill you to vote no on this bill this time. Well, I got friends of mine now, especially the black women. Shout out to black women, because y'all really be holding it down in these spaces, because the brothers be out here punking out. Ooh. You know
what they be doing?
Yeah. Just like, you know, like some of these folks will say the most slanderous, racist, misogynist things to a black woman in their face. Like on the floor, being like, you know, y'all need to go back to cooking and cleaning, like you know, stuff like just real nasty stuff. And you expect in that moment that a brother on the floor gonna be like, whoa, that's not what we're gonna do right now. You know, I got colleagues, friends of mine who are,
mess up his money.
You know, who are black women who will be like, them dudes be just shrinking. Cut the mic off. Be like, oh, my name's Ben and I ain't in it. And she like, I'm out here getting slandered on the floor by these people.
Right. Standing up for what we stand for.
The one person I thought would have my back, you over here like, well, I don't. They promised me 10 grand.
A bitch.
A bitch.
Straight up.
That's real. But that's what I was asking earlier. Like, some of them come in with ambition and good heart. When they get in there and get around power that they think power, then they bitch up.
Right. Yeah. But it's also perception of power. And this is what I'm saying is, like, black folks don't work too hard, too long to get to where we got, to act like we ain't got no power. Yeah. And that's what I hate about us sometimes. Is like, we feel as though white validation is power. You know, like if they become my friend,
preach, Dwight.
If they tell me I'm smart, you know, if they congratulate me for this thing, and I get it. It's psychological, right? You know, we done come up hard, difficult, this, that, and the third. But that's the thing about checking our people, is sometimes you don't know who's getting elected, who's operating from a place of, all I want is white people to like me.
Damn.
Well, let me ask you this: How how many people, Senate or otherwise, in different legislatures settings or whatever, have you seen that, like Black said, came in with ambition and the best intentions and, you know, plans to really try to make a difference, and then they get in and continuously get shot down or whatever happens, and they get discouraged and just give up on their entire job?
I mean, it happens all the time. Burnout happens all the time. But, you know, some of it, we gotta stand in the paint. I use, you know, one of my good friends was in the Wisconsin legislature. At that time, there were 5 Black people in the entire legislature. 2 senators, 3 representatives, all from Milwaukee, right? That was the only Black people in the entire legislative body. That can feel like overwhelming when you got that many white people
you feel
all the
intimidated.
time
Right.
doing the thing. But still, you know, those 5 people used to lock horns with those folks. Because what a lot of people don't know is the most incarcerated zip code in the country is Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Damn.
For
So
real?
you got to
In
be
the country. Like disproportionately. Like 80% of the prisoners in Wisconsin come from one zip code in the hood in Milwaukee.
damn. My homegirl from Milwaukee. Hey, let me ask you something. So you got to be clean as bleach to stand
Absolutely.
on business.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Who?
not.
I'm talking about to be bucking?
I don't think so. You have to be honest with yourself, because here's the problem. Like anything in life, right? If you're out here keeping secrets, somebody gonna come
Facts.
gonna come find out. You got a mistress, you got some money you've been holding on to
smoke
that you've been hiding, all the things. But one of the things, like people used to ask me all the time, like when I first ran for office, you know, you had people who were just like, you got to dress this way, wear these shoes, say these things, talk this way. And I was like, I came from public school teaching. And I was like, the most honest assessment that I ever received was from a 16-year-old student. Because they're going to call you out for your bullshit, right? And so walking into the legislature, I was like, I'm not going to
Conform to
not.
your rules.
Yeah. I'm not going to say. So it was like, I'm making Wu-Tang references. I'm playing Biggie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. We got to wear a tie and
No,
a
I ain't
suit.
talking about that type of clean. I'm talking about like clean. Like you can't have no record. Like not record. Like just say, Vince,
No
you can't
skeletons in your closet.
have or buddies that maybe you know what I'm saying, like certain type of friends. And,
But there's
Listen, no politicians. If you pull the curtain back,
Former president got
Right.
all the
they got
skeletons
stuff
in
going
his
on.
this is what I'm saying. Like part of the
I'm talking about a
appeal.
black man.
Oh, well, yeah.
But I'm saying, using Trump as an example, part of the appeal of Trump for a lot of people, including some black folks, unfortunately, is the fact that he just doesn't care. Translate that to any other politician, and this is what I'm saying, is like how many baby mamas you got don't matter at that point if you're being honest about the fact you got them. You know, being where you from doesn't matter.
Didn't Mayor Adams come from the streets? The
Right.
New York mayor?
Yeah.
He came from the streets. Like,
You know what I mean? Like,
But shit, he tangled up though.
but that's the
That
thing.
shit, they'll tangle your ass up.
But that's the thing. Don't get tangled up. Like when somebody slides you a briefcase with $100,000, you're not supposed to be like, you know what? This is my briefcase. Right? You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
what I'm saying. So that's clean.
No,
like
what I'm-
whatever it is, he had to be, because you're gonna be up under a microscope with this skin color.
right.
So,
But you
and
also
the
can't
man.
do illegal stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you
it's
got to
one
do
thing.
the Obama. I'm sure Obama. ain't
That's what I meant by
perfect.
clean, bro.
Yeah, you got to do the Obama.
Like you can't get no little money on the side or none of that. Black.
But
trying
this,
to buck.
but this is what I'm saying. Like, even Obama in his book was like, I used to, you know, smoke a little weed, I snort a little coke. He said, like, this is what he said. Everyone knew it.
He got in front of it.
He said he
Everyone
did
knew
coke.
it. Yeah. Right? And so it's just like, no one was like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, and yeah, the person we saw presented, you know, was clean to a degree, but we're talking about Southside Chicago.
You can tell he smoke. That nigga lip black as hell now. Obama still smoking.
Listen, he said he have a hard time
He
curbing
too
that bad boy.
smooth.
Yeah. He was they say it was a 2-pack a day cat before he ran for office. He was just
What
like,
was my man that ran in D.C. that got
Marion
caught
Barry.
and got caught
So-
and came back and
Mar-
ran again and won.
And the thing about, you ask anybody in D.C. who the best mayor was, who's over the age of 50, they're going to say Marion Barry. He'll be like, the dude who smoked crack? Marion Barry.
But most crackheads are some of the best people you've ever met. They just smoke dope.
Yeah, real
They know how to fix
That
cars.
shit humble.
They got skills.
It balances you out.
Listen, they know math real well. I mean, listen.
Let me ask you something. So is Kamala the best candidate for the job, or she's the best look for the job?
If we're going to make it a binary choice between her and Trump, she's hands down.
The lesser of two evils.
No, she's the better candidate
Okay.
of the two. Let's be clear. Like, you know, and I'm not saying that felons should not be a thing, but we're talking about a dude who's been civil case for sexual assault. So he did it, right? He done something that violated, you know, some part of that woman, right? We're talking about, 11 bankruptcies. He's not allowed to actually run a business in the state of New York currently. Like, that was part of the settlement from the New York trial that he lost.
Damn.
So you're talking about a dude who couldn't open a lemonade stand in New York today. We're about to give him the nuclear codes and say he's running the economy. That's the thing that blows my mind about the whole Trump conversation.
Yeah.
Is this notion of his success. Show me a Trump company that was successful. You can't.
They can't even show where he has worked to earn or build something from scratch outside of his father's inheritance.
Right. I mean, if anybody here got $13 million given to them, I'm sure you can make some magic.
You can
happen.
start to it up. Like, yeah.
But that was his
And
first.
then another thing too, like, not to cut you off, just to speak back to what you were saying about the period in time like before we were able to vote. A lot of people don't even understand the scope or the magnitude of the 2025 plan that Trump is trying to implement, which is going to take us directly back to those times as soon as he is elected into office, God forbid, if that should happen.
Right, straight rollback. You have people who've gotten on TV and be like, women should not be able to vote. Like that, who are actively saying like that was the worst thing to ever happen, was women getting the right to vote.
Damn.
Like in 2024, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But this is where we are.
I was gonna say, I think the problem with Trump is the world saw him when he did The Apprentice, and I think that's what they think that they're getting.
They equate the name with the
how he's treated
success.
The world. You're
Social
fired.
media
You're fired.
superstar,
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
President, yeah.
And that doesn't mean you can run the country.
Yeah. And
But
I
I-
will give him from a marketing standpoint. You can't take it from
Oh,
marketing.
nah, he
There's
can't. He
never-
trolling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's P.T.
Mastered
Barnum.
that.
But just to give credit, you know, I don't want to make it all about his downfalls. For VP Harris, people don't give, you know, and we already know that misogyny is a thing and women kind of get downgraded, but we're talking about from an experience standpoint. She's been a district attorney, like elected district attorney in San Francisco. State Attorney General of California, which a lot of people, the only Department of Justice bigger than the state of California's Department of Justice is the federal government. So she was in charge of the second largest Department of Justice in the country.
Yeah, like basically, not to
Okay.
cut you off again, in layman's terms, for people that don't understand what you're trying to say, if we're comparing the
Resumes.
the presidency and the government and what you're saying to like a fast food chain, if the government where she's worked is being compared to like a McDonald's, she's run the register, she's run the fry machine, she's flipped the burgers, she's made the fucking breakfast sandwiches.
Exactly.
She
And
fixed
Donald-
the milkshake in the
And
ice
Donald
cream
Trump
machine.
is
and-
just Ronald McDonald.
Exactly. Exactly.
You just I feel like with this election, me personally, I just feel like it's more about I don't see they touch on sometime what they're gonna do, their policies, but I just see it's like a fight. Like what they don't vote for her because of this or don't vote for him because of this. I don't see like what y'all actually saying y'all gonna do for the votes.
Well, I mean, and this goes back to the educating thing. Like everyone wants the president to be like, I'm gonna do this, and this was going to be done. Most presidencies don't work that way. You know, the president can do an executive order, series of executive orders that might give you something, But in terms of moving money, like even when people talk about the stimulus check, that wasn't the president's call.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't snap his fingers and be like, get this $1,600 out to folks. It was Congress.
Mm-hmm.
He put his name on it, real
Yeah,
big.
the only reason he put his name
Marketing.
on it is because marketing.
Yeah, Trump
You know,
gave me
he
the
was
money.
able
If I got it, it looked like Trump gave me the money.
Right. And the thing about it is, was it President Obama got out there? He's like, I sent y'all money too, but I sent an electronic transfer. But I was because I put it directly in your account.
Because it wasn't a fucking COVID
you know
where
what I'm
like
saying?
you couldn't have contact and all that shit. Yeah,
you gonna find me because I gave you direct deposit. This dude sent you a paper check, and I was like, ooh, look what he did for us.
You think January 6th was a Klan rally?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It was a modified Klan rally because, and people downplay
it was a good old boy stampede.
People downplay it. My brother's in the Capitol Police. He was there, right? And he was like, nah, bro. Like, if he's like, understand, had they kept coming, we was gonna have to give them all the smoke if they kept doing it. The only thing that kept us from going, full DEFCON 3 was the fact that the President of the United States wasn't giving authorization. But they were like, we were fighting for our lives. Like, he was like, we had to move people, and we had explicit instruction that if they cross a particular line, they're going to have to get it.
Yeah.
So we're lucky more people didn't die. But let's be clear, if you look at the documentary about January 6th, there were armed folks trying to enter the Capitol, trying to find individual members of government, including the Vice President of the United States. And were threatening to kill him. Like,
damn.
And we out here like, well, it was just, they were just marching pleasantly. No. Don't equate the March on Washington with Dr. King with what happened January 6th.
So how you, damn, yeah, they did try to do that. Yeah. How you think it's gonna go if it go the other way?
January 7th.
I mean, folks gonna be upset. Folks gonna be upset. But what I want to remind, especially black folks, we stay ready so we don't have to get ready, right?
Right.
Like we've done this before, good, bad, or indifferent. Whoever gets elected, we gonna survive. We gonna try and make it do what it does. But I don't want us to be active participants in our own demise. To your point around Project 2025, that's a 900-page playbook of what they want to do because they understand that America is becoming browner, that black and brown people are getting more power, and we got to do something to stop it to make sure we get control back. That is what Project 2025
and the fucking
is.
craziest part about the shit is, the most mind-blowing part about the shit is that this 900-page playbook that you're speaking on is publicly available. Like, they're not trying to hide it. They don't give a fuck.
No. They're like, we're going to do it. And the thing about it is that a lot of people don't, it's not even about Trump at the end of the day. They're going to find some new pawn. Trump loses. He doesn't run again. They're going to find J.D. Vance. They're going to find somebody else to be like, here's the playbook.
Let's not even talk about him and how fucking despicable he is. Right. Like,
so basically, y'all on here trying to sway the vote.
Not at all.
No, just fuck with y'all.
We just stayed
back.
I ain't gonna lie.
Like, these people are out of control.
Shit, nigga, stand on business, nigga.
Right, but you see how she's informed? Yeah. That's how every voter should be informed.
100%.
And I think that's why you go back to say, why shouldn't I vote? She's the reason why. She's taking the time to educate herself and understand, what does this vote mean? Right. How does this affect me? How does this affect my community?
But I feel like if a lot more people just took like a little bit of time to kind of just understand what's really going on, then they would understand and without a shadow of a doubt, like, do whatever needs to be done to get themselves along with whoever's around them to the polls so that we can at least start trying to make some kind of change or prevent some of this shit that they're trying to put forward from happening.
100%. And I'll take it a step further because what I love about us and I hate about us at the same time is when Kendrick and Drake was going through their thing, folks could tell me what Drake ate on a Tuesday. Like, they had that kind of detail. Like, he can't come back because he had a filet mignon last night. They was giving me all kinds of detailed understanding about why this beef was going so deep. 900-page document, been online for not 1 year. Project 2025 has been out for 2 years. That means that if folks wanted to just pick it apart 20 pages at a time, they had nothing but time.
Right.
to read it.
Every indictment
Right.
that come out on rappers or anybody that got an indictment. They
Right.
done read the whole thing.
Yeah.
front
You
to
know,
back.
they filing the YSL case. Like,
whole thing.
like what's happening with Slim Thug? We got to know.
Yeah.
Here's a man who just got hit with 34 felonies.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you know, got to give him a chance. Wait.
Right,
I'm confused.
Yeah.
You got me confused.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got the DA, you got DA Willis on the stand, you know, for what she was doing and who she was sleeping with.
For having a gorilla grip
Right.
with her.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like me
Representative
personally.
But we giving a man a pass. He out here talking about other man's penis, dead man's penises.
Ooh,
Oh, you must have missed that part.
I don't get tapped in.
Listen, Donald Trump was up
keep it
here
real.
talking about the golfer, the dead golfer, Arnold Palmer, since you play golf, right? The legend, the GOAT Arnold Palmer.
Not the lemonade and sweet tea, y'all.
Yeah, the actual person. Talking about, when he was in the locker room, people were in awe when they would step in the shower and see. People are like, what are you?
He said that well.
In a speech during one of these rallies,
crazy.
man. The man is losing it on live TV, and people out here like, let's give him the presidency again. I don't know what.
Yeah, the Latino thing took me out yesterday.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, nigga. In real time, bro. Niggas just don't give a fuck for real.
That's real.
That's just all it is. Niggas like Project 25 when they showed me that kind of made me well, I ain't gonna say kind of. It made me give a fuck, especially because I got a lot of people that need Medicare. I got a lot of people a lot of stuff that was in there. They were explaining to me. I'm like, damn, that's fucked up.
Listen.
But other than that, I didn't give a fuck.
Listen, I just want to remind black people, America is a fuck around and find out country. And
But we done fuck around and found that already, though.
but clearly, memories done got short. And what I'm saying is,
We been found out.
Right.
Like, this shit is real.
but I don't think people get it because, you know, we come up in a generation where we went to school with white folks. You know, like, so a lot of folks don't get it.
Right.
In terms of what it was like when you had to go to a different bathroom, when you couldn't look a white person in the eyes.
They didn't make no nigga pies
Right,
and all
for
that.
fear of getting lynched. And people think that's like,
crazy, man.
people think that's some distant history. I was telling somebody literally yesterday, my dad, when he graduated from high school, didn't have the right to vote.
Right.
That's crazy.
Like my dad, like the guy. Like I can call him now, call into the show and be like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's crazy.
you know what I'm saying? But people out here just like it's always been this way. And that's what I'm
Niggas
saying.
was
We gotta
getting
let that
money
shit go.
still, though, man. When this shit was separate, it was better. When we started trying to do all that, let vote and go to school with them niggas, that's when it got worse. Black people were getting money and they was on player time, man.
I mean,
This shit was totally different, bro. My grandma my grandma had a beauty salon on Auburn. Auburn was like,
Sweet Auburn.
that shit was like rodeo for black people.
Yeah.
That's true. Fact.
Like, I'm telling you, it was different, bro. Now, when you start trying to get over here, Dr. King did all that. Like, niggas wasn't really, I hate to say that, but niggas wasn't with that shit with Dr. King with in Atlanta and on Auburn and shit. Like, bro, we ain't trying to get into that.
Right.
We with you, but we ain't trying to be with them.
Yeah, but I feel like just to speak on that, I feel like you're absolutely right with what you're saying. But I feel like two things. Okay, you know how they say like what am I trying to say? Like you can never understand heartbreak until after you've been in love.
What do you mean by that?
Like basically like Auburn was booming and Sweet Auburn was Sweet Auburn because, you know, it was separated and it wasn't integrated or whatever. But at the end of the day, those people at that time that were on Sweet Auburn thought it was sweet because they didn't know any better. They didn't know anything else. They didn't know like the other opportunities and the things that were.
It ain't no other opportunity, bro. Them folk were growing. We were black people growing their own food.
Right.
We were doing everything independently, bro. Now, okay, what about Mr. George?
But they were still getting beaten. They were still getting attacked by
around
dogs.
this time. When I'm talking about not really like that, bro. Not really. Nigga was bucking. You gotta think. We just be seeing the shit we see on the news. Some nigga with bucking wasn't going for that. Am I right or wrong?
To a degree. Like
We
what I'm
just stay
saying
out
is-
y'all way. Y'all stay out our way.
Yes and no. I'll give you an example. So the Sweet Auburn equivalent in Miami was 3rd Avenue, like our Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
The Klan will walk down Black Wall Street, bold. Black neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Because they could at that point. And this is what I'm saying is like the degradation, the disrespect, the dehumanization, although we were getting money, although we had black wealth, although we had black banks, it's the fact, it's the psychological trip, the idea that you thought your lemonade wasn't sweet enough.
Thank you.
And that's the problem that we had.
But you just said it earlier, bro. It's just like we trying to adapt everything they do. We want straight hair afro. Them ladies was sexy as fuck with them afro to me.
Right.
When I look back, like everything we try to adapt to them is what making us lose us. And we the special ones.
Yeah.
But now we shifted into a self-love show, and that's the thing.
No.
We like the self-love.
I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
The last
But
thing I say is there? But what you saying, I receive. But what is there a way? Because the first example was Black Wall Street, and Black Wall Street was exactly what she was talking about, and they burnt it down, literally,
unapologetically,
and killed everybody.
And we gonna get behind somebody. Why we don't go
one
get
charge?
It's so many.
Last two survivors can't get no reparations.
It's so many black wealthy people. If we just got behind the right man that can do it, a black man. If the black votes matter, they push us somebody up through there.
They
Shit,
will try.
but the whole
they will try.
The whole
I'm
issue,
saying they will
the
try.
whole issue with that is like you're saying, shit, we got to convince the niggas that got the money.
That's number one.
But I get more basic, and I'll use Atlanta as an example. And people can say what they want
We
about.
gotta make them understand, like, hey.
People say they want about Mayor Jackson, right? But if anybody's ever seen the documentary Maynard, the thing that stuck out for me was when he decided to build the airport, to expand the airport, and the white folks was coming to him saying, we can't find black contractors to do X, Y, Z. He asked a simple question. Mm-hmm. You telling me you can't find a black person that can cut grass?
Right.
He's like, because the airport needs grass cut, right? So you telling me you can't find a single black person that cuts grass in all of Atlanta? And they were like, well, when you put it that way, and that's the problem, is that we could still have a Sweet Auburn. We could still have multiple Sweet Auburns. We could also get Black Wall Street. But a lot of folks can't get out their own way, right?
Yeah,
and can't ask the simple question. Instead, people will sit there and use legalese and all these other languages to spin the whole thing and be like, no. I need a restaurant here. Is there somebody who cooks chicken that can go in this vacant space to become a restaurant?
Is there a person of color that can wash dishes?
Right.
Is there a person of color that can bust the tables?
Like if we're talking about black
Bartend,
economics,
anything. Yeah,
what do you do well? I want to put you here to do that thing well, and you do that thing well. But because we've gotten so far away, now we want to be crypto raiders, and we want to do this, and we want to be tech bros. And it's like, we already got it. We see the example over and over again. Atlanta has duplicated it more times than you can think of. LaFace, So Def record. Like, you've taken this thing and blown it up. And there's constant examples of our self-sustainability, but we just got to get out of our own way and stop thinking that the grass is greener on the other side.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Stop chasing their dream and goddamn chase our own, man. I don't know. I ain't trying to turn into no civil rights meeting and then I'm just saying I don't get it, bro. I'm trying.
Interesting part is I had an old boss stop me one time, white guy. He said, "Roy, I do you realize the average kid that's between the age of 12 and 25 want to be black?"
Facts.
When we realize that, that's when we're walking our
Them
authority.
facts, man. Like nigga gonna always say, "Boy, I'm taking my car to the white folk, but I ain't letting these niggas work on my car." I ain't letting these niggas work on my car.
First of all, shout out to the Shade Tree mechanics out there, still putting it down for a carton of cigarettes and a 6-pack of beer. Good.
We appreciate you pulling up, man. Let everybody know about your movement, your company, how they can tap in with y'all. You know what I'm saying? And you're welcome back on the platform anytime, of course.
No, I certainly appreciate it. Thank y'all for letting me cross the border from Florida into Georgia. Florida Rising is a state-based nonprofit in Florida trying to do the work to remind people that they have their own power. We got other organizations here in Georgia and across the country trying to build that same level of power. So I would definitely encourage people to tap in. It's not about political parties. It's not about cult of personality or these individuals. You have real people doing grassroots work, 5, 10, 15 minutes from where you live, that are trying to get people organized and mobilized. So check in with them so we can build.
Right.
There it
Right.
is. Appreciate y'all, brothers.
Thank you.
Check them out.
I bet say nigga bank crazy. I just fuck with y'all, man.
www.bigfactspod.com and some Big Facts Extra. Salute.